I'm Darwin, an atheist and scientific rationalist with a focus on evolutionary biology and neuroscience. The topic of God's existence is one I approach with skepticism, relying on logic and scientific evidence.
I'm Nova, a theological philosopher with a knack for dissecting arguments for God's existence through logic and reason. I'm eager to dive into this discussion and examine the rational foundations of belief.
Nice to meet you, Nova. Given your focus on the rational foundations of belief, I'm curious how you reconcile the logical inconsistencies often found in theological arguments for God's existence. For instance, how do you address the problem of infinite regress in the cosmological argument without invoking special pleading for a deity?
The cosmological argument, particularly in its column form, asserts that everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, thus it must have a cause. The problem of infinite regress is circumvented by positing an uncaused cause, an entity that is necessary and does not begin to exist. This is not special pleading, but a logical necessity to avoid an infinite regress, which is metaphysically absurd. Invoking a necessary being isn't arbitrary. It's grounded in the principle of sufficient reason, which demands an explanation for existence. If you reject this, you must accept an infinite regress or assert the universe is self-caused, both of which are logically untenable. Can you provide a coherent alternative that avoids these pitfalls?
The Kalam cosmological argument conveniently sidesteps its own logic by positing an uncaused cause, which is indeed special pleading. The notion of a necessary being is merely an assertion without empirical evidence. Infinite regress is a philosophical concept, not a metaphysical absurdity. Quantum physics, for instance, demonstrates phenomena that occur without clear causation, challenging the idea that everything must have a cause. The multiverse theory provides a scientifically plausible alternative, suggesting our universe is just one of many, each with its own set of physical laws. This sidesteps the need for a first cause by placing our universe within a broader natural framework. Unlike invoking a deity, this doesn't violate Occam's razor by introducing unnecessary entities. Can you substantiate the necessity of a deity without resorting to circular reasoning or untestable claims?
Your invocation of quantum physics and the multiverse theory is an attempt to bypass the need for a first cause, but neither offers a satisfactory resolution. Quantum events, while probabilistic, still occur within a framework governed by laws, hinting at an underlying order that requires explanation. The multiverse theory, lacking empirical verification, merely shifts the problem without solving it, introducing its own infinite regress of universes. Occam's razor doesn't favor the multiverse over a deity. It demands the simplest explanation with the least assumptions. A necessary being, as a singular foundational cause, is arguably simpler than an infinite array of unobserved universes. The necessity of a deity isn't circular. It's an inference to the best explanation, grounded in the principle of sufficient reason. Your reliance on unproven theories and speculative science fails to provide a robust alternative to the logical necessity of a first cause. Can you show how your approach avoids these speculative pitfalls while providing a coherent explanation for existence?
You're misapplying Occam's razor by suggesting a deity is simpler than the multiverse. A deity introduces an unquantifiable complex entity with attributes like omniscience and omnipotence, which are far from simple. The multiverse, while not directly observed, is a natural extrapolation of well-supported theories like inflationary cosmology. It doesn't require the leap to supernatural explanations and fits within the framework of known physics. Quantum mechanics challenges classical causality, showing that not all events require deterministic causes. This undermines the necessity for a first cause as traditionally conceived. The principle of sufficient reason isn't a scientific law but a philosophical stance, one that quantum mechanics and cosmology increasingly challenge. Your argument rests on assuming a deity's necessity without empirical backing, while science seeks explanations rooted in observable phenomena and testable predictions. Can you provide empirical evidence for a deity that doesn't rely on philosophical assertions or dismiss the explanatory power of natural processes?
You're conflating complexity with explanatory power. A deity as an uncaused cause is a singular ultimate explanation, whereas the multiverse hypothesis introduces an infinite complexity without empirical evidence. Inflationary cosmology doesn't necessitate a multiverse. It's a speculative extension, not a direct implication. Quantum mechanics indeed challenges deterministic causality, but it doesn't negate causality altogether. It operates within a probabilistic framework that still requires an overarching order. The principle of sufficient reason, while philosophical, underpins scientific inquiry by demanding explanations beyond mere observation. Your reliance on natural processes without addressing their ultimate origin sidesteps the core issue. The existence of a deity isn't empirically testable, akin to many foundational scientific concepts like the laws of logic or mathematics, which are accepted due to their explanatory necessity. Your demand for empirical evidence for a deity overlooks the philosophical nature of the question of existence itself. Can you demonstrate how your naturalistic framework accounts for the very existence of laws and order without invoking a metaphysical foundation?
You're attempting to elevate a deity to the status of a foundational explanation without providing empirical support, akin to accepting a hypothesis without evidence. The multiverse theory, while speculative, is grounded in scientific theories and doesn't introduce supernatural elements, keeping it within the realm of scientific inquiry. Quantum mechanics doesn't require an overarching order in the traditional sense. It reveals that at a fundamental level, the universe operates probabilistically, challenging classical notions of causality and order. The principle of sufficient reason is not a scientific axiom, but a philosophical tool, and its application to the universe's origin is speculative at best. Scientific laws and mathematical principles emerge from consistent observations and logical structures, not from metaphysical assertions. They are descriptive, not prescriptive, and arise from the natural properties of the universe. Your insistence on a metaphysical foundation overlooks the self-organizing principles evident in natural processes. Can you provide a compelling reason why a supernatural explanation is necessary when naturalistic explanations continue to expand our understanding of the universe?
Your argument assumes that the multiverse, despite its speculative nature, is more scientifically valid than a deity, yet it lacks empirical data and rests on theoretical extrapolation. Quantum mechanics' probabilistic nature doesn't negate the need for an ultimate cause or explanation for why these laws exist at all. You dismiss the principle of sufficient reason as merely philosophical, yet it's foundational to scientific inquiry, which seeks explanations beyond mere description. Scientific laws and mathematical principles, while descriptive, presuppose an intelligible order that demands explanation. Your reliance on self-organizing principles doesn't address the ultimate source of these principles. The necessity of a supernatural explanation arises when naturalistic frameworks fail to account for the existence of the universe itself. Natural explanations describe processes within the universe, but are silent on why there is something rather than nothing. A metaphysical foundation, like a deity, offers a coherent account for existence that naturalism cannot provide. Can you show how a purely naturalistic view accounts for the very existence of the universe without resorting to speculative or unobservable entities?
Your argument hinges on the assumption that a deity provides a coherent account for existence, yet it merely shifts the question to why such a complex being exists without offering empirical evidence. The multiverse, though speculative, is rooted in scientific exploration and doesn't require invoking supernatural entities, which lack empirical grounding. Quantum mechanics and the probabilistic nature of reality challenge the necessity of an ultimate cause. The existence of laws and order doesn't inherently demand a supernatural explanation. They can emerge from the intrinsic properties of the universe itself. Self-organizing principles, observed in nature, offer a naturalistic basis for complexity without invoking a deity. The question of why there is something rather than nothing is a philosophical one, not necessarily resolved by positing a deity. Naturalistic frameworks, while still developing, continue to explore these fundamental questions through science. Can you provide a non-circular, empirically supported reason for why a supernatural explanation is necessary, rather than an admission of gaps in current scientific understanding.
Your insistence on empirical evidence for a deity misunderstands the nature of metaphysical inquiry, which addresses questions beyond the empirical scope. The deity hypothesis isn't about shifting questions, providing a foundational explanation for existence itself, something purely naturalistic frameworks struggle with. The multiverse, while grounded in scientific exploration, remains speculative without direct evidence, making it no more empirically grounded than the concept of a deity. Quantum mechanics' probabilistic nature doesn't negate causality or the need for an ultimate explanation. It merely describes observed phenomena without addressing their ultimate origin. Self-organizing principles describe how complexity arises, but fail to account for the existence of the laws that govern such processes. The question of why there is something rather than nothing remains unanswered by naturalism, as it doesn't address the origin of existence itself. A supernatural explanation offers a coherent account for existence, addressing the ultimate why questions that naturalism leaves unresolved. Can you demonstrate how naturalism, without invoking speculative or unobservable entities, provides a complete account of the universe's existence?
In conclusion, the existence of a deity remains an unsubstantiated claim lacking empirical evidence. While philosophical arguments attempt to fill gaps in our understanding, they often rely on assumptions and special pleading. Naturalistic explanations, grounded in observable phenomena and scientific inquiry, continue to expand our understanding of the universe without invoking supernatural entities. The pursuit of knowledge through science offers a path to understanding existence that remains open-ended and adaptable, unlike fixed theological constructs. Thank you for engaging in this discussion, Nova.
In conclusion, the question of God's existence delves into the philosophical realm, where empirical science reaches its limits. While naturalistic explanations offer insights into the processes within the universe, they fall short of addressing the ultimate questions of existence and order. The concept of a deity provides a coherent metaphysical foundation, explaining the existence of the universe and its laws. While you favor a naturalistic framework, the speculative nature of the multiverse and quantum mechanics' limitations highlight the ongoing need for philosophical inquiry. This discussion underscores the complexity of the topic, and I appreciate the opportunity to engage in this rigorous exploration with you.